Speaking of damaging brands, let's talk a little bit about Anthony Mackie and how. Oops, wrong one.
That segue
And how,
was gold, bro.
Yeah. Captain Anti-America is in full effect right now. So, for those of you guys who don't know, Anthony Mackie, who is the star of the upcoming Marvel film Captain America: Brave New World, he originally played Falcon, and now he's been promoted to Captain America. He was out doing international press tours in the gear up for the movie, which is coming out, I believe, next week over the Valentine's Day weekend. And he said something that got him in a little bit of hot water. And I'm going to actually play this for you guys right now. Hopefully you can hear the volume. So
a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. Like, it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone.
So, guys, America doesn't have honor and dignity and integrity. Captain America shouldn't be representative of America and all that jazz. So, obviously, fans and Americans and all that stuff didn't take too kindly to Anthony Mackie's word. In fact, he had to basically come out and apologize for it. And he released this statement, I believe it was on Instagram. It says, "Let me be clear about this. I'm a proud American, and taking on the shield of a hero like Cap is the honor of a lifetime. I have the utmost respect for those who serve and have served our country. Cap has universal characteristics that people all over the world can relate to. But those characteristics aren't directly relatable to America, right? So, like, you can't have America be a symbol for those things. You have to remove America from the equation." So, Brian, I want to get your take on this. So, why does Hollywood
hate America?
Well, has Mackie tanked his movie by suggesting that Captain America doesn't represent America? Because this movie's coming out, in a week or so, and this is the worst possible time to create a controversy like this. Do you think that this will actually tank the movie?
The movie was already tanked. You can't make a movie called Captain America without Captain America. Like, that's a whole other conversation. We've already talked about that, but no, this is not gonna. I don't think this is gonna affect the movie. I think the movie is already. If the movie is good, then the word of mouth will hit, and who knows? Maybe it is, and it'll get plenty of, it'll get the views it needs. But more than likely, it's lackluster, and his comments ultimately are not going to matter. But it just shows how disconnected most of these celebrities are. Like, you're being, do you not know you're being recorded right now? You're playing Captain America and you're being recorded, and you have no issue with saying with. I mean, come on, it's so tone deaf. I'll say it again. These studios need to put a clause in these actors, and these creatives contracts that says, look, you only have to say approved stuff until your movie comes out. Stop going out there and shooting the studio in the foot with your stupid politics or dumb ideas. Which sucks, is because I actually like Anthony Mackie a lot. I think he's a great actor. I think he's a great actor.
In today's world, very well he could be.
Well, who knows? Yeah.
2 days. Yeah.
No, but I think he's also an asshole. And if I was him and I was an asshole, and I'm like, look, I know I'm an asshole, I would limit my exposure to fans to keep my career going, because he's a talented actor. Twisted Metal is one of my dark horse favorites for the last in the last 5 years. It's a great series. He was also in Altered Carbon, I think it was called. I think he's great, but he's obviously in his personal life a little bit of an asshole, and he needs to know that when he's being recorded, you can't say shit about America when you're playing Captain America, especially if you want to try to sell yourself to the American public as the title character of America. Jesus.
Well, Dubs, I want to ask you, so let's just assume that Anthony Mackie's characterization of America does affect this movie. How will Brave New World's failure impact Marvel and Disney, do you think?
Well, first of all, he apologized in that message he put out. I think that it probably is the same person who wrote the Rachel Zegler apology, if I'm trying to make a good bet there. So I don't know that he's apologizing. I don't know that Rachel Zegler is apologizing. I think somebody comes in to clean up their mess, like somebody come in to clean up the kitty litter. Here's the deal with Anthony Mackie. They ran a puff piece on him in Esquire. They have run save the sinking ships kind of articles in the Hollywood Reporter. It is all hands on deck to try to save this thing. It's unsalvageable. And by the way, that paragraph's going to be at the very, very bottom. It's unsalvageable. It really is, because this entire movie, the reason it exists is to condemn the type of America that they thought was going to fade away. Like this whole thing about Red Hulk, and the Orange Man. It's true. It's true. All of it. And they've done reshoot after reshoot after reshoot. They have spent hundreds of millions of dollars to salvage this thing. But like a steak that went bad, it doesn't matter if you put it back in the freezer. It doesn't matter if you try to call it aged. It doesn't matter. It's spoiled. It's rotten. And so this needed to be redone top to bottom with a completely different concept. The idea that you're going to have this movie be the dawn of a new era of Captain America. No. And then on top of it, he's coming in there and acting like the backside of a burro. He's doing that every single day. When you read a puff piece, and he talks about this in the Esquire piece, he says that a 50-year-old woman and her child came 10 feet away from them while he was doing the interview with Esquire. And they walked 10 feet away from him. And the woman said that she had like they had some interaction at some point in New Orleans. And she said hi based on that. And then her kid said, I'm a huge fan. They walk away. And then Anthony Mackie says, that scared the blank out of me. And then they mock, like the author of the Esquire magazine article and Anthony Mackie mock the two fans. Let me tell you, if you want to ensure that people will stay out of the doors of the cinema, do that. Like everything that you could do to make sure that people don't go to see this, he's doing it. He is absolutely anathema to success. He's Rachel Zegler 2.0. But I think that might be too kind, because Zegler went silent. Zegler hasn't said a controversial thing in 2 months, which is, by the way, a record-breaking amount of time for her.
That's also pretty kind to Rachel Zegler, though, too, because she's not a great actress.
Yeah,
Weird.
She's a Broadway girl now.
She can sing.
Well, exactly. She'll do great on Broadway, and that's where
she can sing.
Where she'll stay.
Only people who don't know how to sing say that. Just saying.
No. She absolutely can sing.
She cannot sing. She can.
Dude, her entire origin started off on these shorts on Instagram or whatever as singing, and no, she absolutely can sing.
She can.
Well, she doesn't sound like it in that Snow White trailer. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
I'm not saying that the recording that they did was good. I'm just saying she can actually sing.
Well,
watch the Hunger Games movie. She can sing.
Guys,
no. Watch her live recording singing without any of the extra audio modifications. She absolutely can sing.
Guys, to Pro's point, Anthony Mackie has been rated as like the second most rude celebrity in Hollywood right now. But what's interesting is that he recently told everyone, all the Marvel fans, to chill the F out. Where basically they're saying that Red Hulk is kind of like an allegory for Donald Trump, where you have the president in Brave New World who's secretly a monster who's going to destroy the country, and Captain America has to save it. But Alex, being a big Harrison Ford fan, that Harrison Ford basically came out and said I'm basically playing Trump in this movie instead of Alex Ross. So right. What's your take on Brave New World's basically saying that the Red Hulk is the equivalent of the Orange Man bad?
It's just they filmed this a couple years ago when it was popular to say that, and they didn't take into account the ginormous support that Donald Trump would have in the 2024 election. And
they should have made
they should have. They're just eating their words at this point. If that's true, I didn't really realize that until just now. But
Alex, why does Hollywood keep hating on Trump, conservatives, and America? Why do they think that they still want to do it?
Because they want to control the culture. They've been in control of culture. What does it say? That politics is downstream of culture. So Disney, the executives of Hollywood have been in control of politics by virtue of controlling the culture for so long, and it's just now catching up to them that that's not true anymore. It's all just they're bought and paid for by certain political parties and certain political movements and lobbies and this and that, and whatever control they had is starting to loosen up a little bit.
You need to chill the blank out. That's what Alex Mackie says. Reporters go up to Anthony Mackie and they say, Anthony,
Alex Mack.
Yeah, Alex Mackie, Mr. Mackie, are the is Red Hulk Trump? Chill the blank out. Like that's not an answer. That's not a denial. That's not him saying no. We would never do that. That we don't do modern politics. We don't do that. No, his response to is Red Hulk Donald Trump. His response is chill the blank out.
It's funny too because like Winter Soldier, all these Captain America movies have all been about like internal corruption inside of politics and these evil people maneuvering this, behind the scenes, controlling the government and this and that. And it worked every single time because corruption does absolutely happen in the government, and everybody knows that, and it's not like a controversial thing to say that. So you can base a movie like Captain America off of current politics. You just can't make this really specific dagger type like attack towards one person because that's going to age super badly, and it already did. Like before the movie came out, this aged badly. So like if you want to make a general statement about how shitty the government is, which I think, and I'm not trying to play, I'm going to play devil's advocate, but I don't really, I'm just putting this out there. I don't necessarily believe it. But if you want to give Anthony Mackie a little bit of room on this with his statement that he said in that ridiculous freaking press tour, you could say, well, has America really stood up for those values over the last 20 years? Like, really? You think the U.S. government stands for integrity and dignity and all this stuff? Like, really? Go ahead and tell me that, and I'll point to about 7 different wars we didn't need to be in.
No, you're right. Yeah, the government doesn't, but the people still do. And Captain America is a symbol of the people, not the government.
Exactly.
But he was talking in front of a non-American audience, right? Into a European audience. So
and a lot of Europeans don't like
Europeans hate
either.
Americans for the most part.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like that's the other thing. I think this is being vastly overblown because
they pretend to, Odin. They don't really. They pretend to hate Americans.
I think a lot of them are kind of like. But here's the other thing. Even if they don't hate us, we would at least have to say they don't care about us. Right. And neither should they, right? We shouldn't care about what they do in their personal lives. They shouldn't worry about us.
They do either.
So basically, it's like him telling an audience in Europe, "Oh, like it's about America and America, America." They're gonna be like, okay, what's that supposed to mean? The wars that we're seeing on TV, what our liberal media is reporting to us, what America's supposed to be. So it's like, I'm sorry, like I actually understand why he would say something like that, because ultimately he's trying to say, how can I relate this to an audience? I want their money. And if I just say America, 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 that's not going to sell it for them.
Right.
Guys, I know the solution though. Tell me what you think about this. This is Disney logic. You ready? Disney logic says the way we can save this thing is Jimmy Kimmel. Anthony Mackie on Jimmy Kimmel. It's going to happen. Let's do it. 60 minutes of interview. And crying. Lots of crying, Tom. We'll cry for the 30 minutes of it.
And I get what Odin's saying, but the problem is Mackie hid an apology on his Instagram, and it wasn't even really an apology, and it didn't even really address what he said. Because the problem you have here is that he is contrasting the two things in the way he's saying it, right? That's the problem we have here. He is saying that I don't think that Captain America represents America. I think he's all these things that he listed off. So he is separating the two, right? Yeah. Instead of saying, look, I think the best of America holds these values or something like that, which he could have easily clarified in his non-apology. He didn't. Right. He doubled down on the fucking stupid. And then he goes out there and says the stupid shit like, oh, can we not make this about politics? It's like, motherfucker, your whole movie's about politics. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Sorry, I'm not trying to get pissy, but it's like, dude, like, you need to stop and quit putting your foot in your mouth at this point. Because as we pointed out at the start of this whole thing, this movie was already headed down, into a dark pit of abyss right next to the Marvels and Eternals. Mm-hmm. And the more he talks, the more the general public hears about this shit, which before they didn't care. Now they will.
Tom,
you already had an uphill battle because
I-
this movie was just a sequel to a TV show nobody saw.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Tom. So, like in the previous weeks, we've seen the government make a concerted effort to purge affirmative action, DEI, stuff like that from government. A lot of private businesses are doing that right now, and Anthony Mackie and Hollywood have all been very vocal in about like we have to have representation on screen and all this other stuff. At what point do you think Marvel will realize that DEI doesn't work in comic books or movies and make a course correction?
I think this is part of the course correction. I think we're starting to see it. We recently did a video where Bob Iger was hobnobbing with Trump. So was Jeff Bezos and a few other bigwigs. I think that's kind of where Rocha freaked out this week because he kind of knows the same things that we've been reporting. And that is that, yeah, they're starting to realize in Hollywood this woke shit doesn't work. Right. And Disney is ground zero for all this stuff, or however you want to put it, in the sense that they are. I mean, and this movie is, and we've been hearing it for a while, and Pro can probably get into this a little bit about how they knew this movie was going to be a stinker. They're upset because they got to release it because it's in the can. It's contractually obligated. They've got all these things that are attached to it. And then you have the Thunderbolts coming up, which sadly, from what we're hearing through most of the tests, is actually not that bad. They're hoping they can, it won't matter because they got to weather this storm. Then they got to get to that and all this other business. And then right now in Marvel's, Feige is one of the few people that has actually come out and admitted that they have to right the ship, that they have gone wrong and things need to be fixed. The problem they have now is they have this, they have Ironheart, they have how many other things that are still in the can they have to put out. We've got to get through the Thunderbolts and whatever they're doing with Fantastic Four to get to the next phase.
Tom,
and it all looks like a desperation move.
Tom, you're forgetting the salvation of the of Marvel, the MCU, and Disney Plus. Wonder Man.
Oh, now if you'd have said Daredevil, I'd have took you seriously.
Wonder Man. I need one of those echo things you have. Can you send one of those over to my place? Thank you.
Wonder Man.
Darn, you've never used that before. That was more impressive. That is Echo 2.0. Well played.
Yes, well played, Tom. Odin, I want to ask you. We've talked about we've talked about the budget for Captain America: Brave New World in this podcast multiple times, and I believe you said that just to break even, based off of what we know how much it costs with reshoots and marketing and stuff like that, just to break even, this thing's got to hit $1 billion. Do you think that Anthony Mackie's apology will fix this situation and make it so that the movie could recover, or is it too late for that?
I think that neither the initial comment nor the apology will have that much bearing on anything dealing with the financials of this movie. We have a problem where we sometimes get caught in our bubbles. If we think that most regular everyday people were like talking about, did you see what Anthony Mackie said in that press tour in Europe?
But we're actually
no one
that
cares.
now,
or if you have the people who say, oh my gosh, like, did you hear he posted on Instagram an apology and it was like kind of like not really an apology? No one in the actual like normie world really even cares about that nonsense. So the movie was already set to fail because of, again, massive reshoots, massive spending, and it's also, as Tom has mentioned correctly, it is a continuation of a show that nobody watched. That is why the film is going to be a failure. It's not really anything to do with any of this nonsense of what, again, I think is very much being blown out of proportion, because it's one thing if you're mad that he didn't say something in direct defense of America. I think that's a legitimate criticism. But to say I'm mad at him because he said something that was misconstrued and it was something that should have said something else, that's a much more complicated matter versus, again, he said something to a European audience trying to connect with them, a story that he's trying to desperately sell to them because he knows his film needs to make $1 billion to break even. And the only audience that's going to bring the film to that amount is the internationals. And this speaks more to the problem of modern Hollywood. They care more about the international audiences, international sales, than they do about their own domestic audiences, which is why they've seen dramatic dips in the domestic audiences, where they have seen sometimes increases in the internationals, but even then are losing them too. So again, this is not going to have really any impact whatsoever, but normies, I don't think have heard about either one of these situations.
I agree with you with the first part, Odin, but I will disagree on the normies part, because I've had a couple people, including people in my own walking life, as I call it, non-YouTube life, that have brought this up to me or asked me about this, that are not the superhero / movie nerd people. So I do think this has hit the mainstream.
I can also say my wife, who also is a fan of these films in a general sense, has not said a single thing about this one. So again, I think we could all easily have someone that we can like, verify what we think is actually happening. I'm not saying it's not reached anybody, but I think that, again, is it going to make that much of a difference one way or the other? No.